All right, guys. Welcome to today's session. The topic of today's session is in Mahabharat, Karna is a negative character. Agree or disagree? And we have posted the fact sheet in the WhatsApp group. So basically, these are some points about like for the argument and against the argument. And there has been some kind of a discussion about this in the WhatsApp group itself. I think people were having a very different view on this topic because like it is kind of like a niche topic, and maybe it's a very focused topic. And unfortunately, the person who suggested this topic, I think he's not available today for some reason. But I think we'll proceed with this. So today Venkat is going to be hosting the session. So I will take a back seat and just watch how this goes.
Yeah,
So if you're ready, basically if you're new to this session, so I'll explain how this works. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take turns to speak, and for you to speak your turn, basically click on the reactions button at the bottom, and then click on raise hand. So whoever raises their hand will be the next to talk, and that's how we'll proceed. And also I posted this poll in the chat, so you can click on that. It sort of like indicate what your stance is, and you can change this stance throughout the session. So yeah, without much further ado, I'll let Venkat. Maybe Venkat, do you want to like share like an opening statement or something like that on this?
sure.
Yeah, yeah,
So just to for those, I assume that most or all of the people who joined this call are familiar to some extent with the Mahabharata, and in particular with Karna. But I will just set a few opening comments. Uh, he was actually one of the Pandavas, strictly speaking. Kunti had uh, was made pregnant by the sun god, I think. So when she was a teenage girl, and Karna was born to her, and she wasn't ready to be a mother, so she abandoned the child. And the child was brought up, was discovered and brought up by some low-class parents. And he gradually comes to the attention of Duryodhana, who sees potential in him and sort of promotes him, makes him king of a small kingdom. And Karna's entire life is driven by this contradiction between his actual high birth but apparent low birth, and the fact that he is allied with the group, the Kauravas, that have been identified as on the wrong side in the Mahabharata. So he stays loyal to Duryodhana from the beginning to the end. Uh, and ultimately, he loses his life. He is killed by Arjuna. Those are the very broad facts of his life. I've omitted a lot of detail here because then I really believe they should come up in the debate. And I will also add that he is generally considered to be one of the most interesting characters in the Mahabharata, if not the most interesting. There have been movies, focused exclusively on Karna's life as depicted in Mahabharata. So the general consensus is that he's a very interesting and complex character. So I was particularly happy that this topic came up for today's debate. I will stop here and let the debate begin. Who would like to go first? So as Raghav said, please raise your hand, whoever wants to speak. Atharva?
Okay, I'll go. Yeah, I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah, so talking about Karna, he was a great disciplinary warrior who had. So I'm in against the topic. So I don't think Karna was a negative character. So starting from his skill set, he was a master of his art. He um, he even had some other characters uh, uh, when vandalizing him against him due to his art. And starting from his life, like he had a very misfortunate life, the societal rejection, uh, led to all the actions that negative sort of actions uh, that he uh, that he is accused of. But despite all that, he had always shown his loyalty to Duryodhan right from very start. And yeah, so yeah, I'm sorry. Well,
Atharva, are you done?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Atharva has made some interesting points. The fact is, Karna was dealt a bad hand, right? So certain kinds of rights and happiness are everyone's basic birthright. Uh, for instance, the right to be taken care of by your own mother, and your own father. Uh, Karna was denied those basic kinds of happiness that are everyone's birthright. So he was dealt a bad hand. That is, that's for sure. A very unfortunate life. Uh, how his life would have turned out if he had the same upbringing as the other Pandavas is anybody's guess. But the fact is that he did have an extremely unfortunate set of accidents from the beginning of his life. That is something that should be kept in mind when we are talking about karma. Thanks, Atharva. Sharad?
Yeah. Uh, so I wanted to, the first thought we always get is Karna had faced lot of unfair, he was treated unfairly by the world around. Like, as you rightly mentioned, he didn't had the fortune of being raised by his own mother. And it is on and uh, further in his life, he was also humiliated in a big uh, uh, in the king's courtyard, in Duryodhana's courtyard, of being a Sutaputra. By he was ridiculed, and then there was a big a lot of people laughed about it in an event. I think this was in Draupadi's marriage, the Swayamvar ceremony. So he was ridiculed in big session. So he was one potential uh, groom for the, or the bridegroom for the Draupadi. He had the capability to win that competition and beat Arjuna, but he was denied that uh, opportunity. And before that, during his younger days, he wanted to learn archery, learn warfare from many of the famous from the leading teachers, but they didn't take him because of his religious identity. And then he had to tell a lie and learn under Parshurama, which later he got to know that he has lied, and he was given a shrap during that time from Parshurama. So that became a thorn during his uh, the penal ultimate war, and which led to his uh, demise. So society as a whole, it was very much unfair towards him from the beginning. And we can say that, right, that if he there is one point that, in spite of all that, why didn't he choose the truth? I mean, this was what Krishna had also given the message to him, that in spite of that, he was not in the side of the truth, and he is bearing the burnt of choosing the wrong side. But if he had not taken that, he wouldn't have come on the limelight. The world wouldn't know who Karna was. But in the again, during all this background, Duryodhana was the one who had helped him. Of course, that may be for his personal gains, because Duryodhana knew that he may be the only one to fight Arjuna. But irrespective of all that, the world is like that. There are personal gains from both the sides. And Duryodhana chose him, and he given him a platform, and he given him a platform for doing all these things. In spite of that, at a later part of Mahabharata, he also goes about, and uh, Indra came as a beggar, and then he even gives him the kavacha, with which would have been made him impossible to kill him. So he had done so much things. He was such a huge donator. In spite of them, he that he is on the negative side, but he had a lot of positives in him. So he's not negative from the person within.
Sharath, are you done?
Yeah, I am done. Thank you.
So yeah, thanks for bringing up all these interesting points. I would like to go back to one point that you mentioned, that he actually lied about his caste uh, uh, when going as a pupil, when trying to become a pupil to Parshuram. Uh, so leaving aside the question of caste discrimination and the modern view of caste discrimination, I think we can agree that telling a lie is a bad thing. So to that extent, Karna appears as a negative character. And to the point that you made a little later on, that about his loyalty to Duryodhana, I think that distinguished him. That is impossible to ignore. Loyalty to somebody who has helped you. He did have that to the end of his life at great personal cost, immense personal cost. So that is a test of character. So that is something that we should keep in mind also. Uh, I'm actually trying hard myself to avoid any bias in this, because obviously, like everyone else, I too have an opinion on Karna's character. But it is important to recognize both the negative and the positive sides of his character, and to arrive at where the balance lies. So that is what we should try to do. And thanks for bringing up all these interesting points, Shraddha. Prince.
Yeah, thanks, Doctor. So, I personally have a different perspective towards all of this. So, I'm speaking based just on the topic, that is he a negative character or not? Based on how his life was, I might think different, but it's just based on the topic. So, in Indian ethics, oh, sorry,
Prince, your voice is breaking up a little bit.
am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So, in the Indian epics, who shall be called a positive character in the whole of the history that we have? The basic criteria of being known as a positive character is ethos and dignity. That were the main criteria for any character to be known as a positive character, quote unquote. Now, there are several points or attributes associated with Karna. First of all, being a great warrior, definitely he was a great warrior. But where were the war ethics? Killing of Abhimanyu after being defeated by him 4 times on the 13th day of war. Where is the ethics here? This, uh, regarding his wars and his capabilities. Of course, he was much more capable than me, but I'm telling with regard to the great people in that era, that he was being defeated by Gandharvas. The failure in Virat war and being defeated by Arjuna alone kind of puts a bad light to him with regard to the warrior part. Now, someone rightly pointed out that he had some abandonment and social acceptance issues, but I can pity him for that, but not regard him as a positive character. Because being raised by another mother is definitely a very difficult thing, but so was Krishna. And Krishna is the epitome and synonym of dharma in our ancient texts. Abandonment is a bad thing, but is not is a permit to do a dharma on that pretext. Because many people think that is one main criteria or characteristic that kind of overshadows everything else is the loyalty towards his friend. Rightly so. But what is loyalty towards a friend? Is it to guide and help him or support him in wrong ways? Two examples of loyalty in friendship is Satyaki, a chieftain of the Narayani Sena who joined Krishna even though his army being on the other side, joining the person who is standing for the righteous conduct. Additionally, he was ridiculed, and it's a very bad thing that in history people with such great caliber like Karna was ridiculed by calling quote unquote Sut Putra and all. But Was he not just a grudge holding individual where he kind of made up for that grudge by suggesting to disrobe Draupadi in the Kaurava's court? Additionally, the teacher part, during that time, teachers were allowed to decide for their students and whom they want to keep it as students. And now I'll just like to end it on 2 points that he was a ruler. Rulers of that time did do charity. It is not that just Karna did charity; all kings did charity. But I think when he came in limelight was regarding the Kavach and Kundal part. Was it not a trade rather than charity? For what kind of charity do you demand Vasavi Dart in return? Charity is something that you do and kind of forget. It is not a trade-off that you give your Kavach and Kundal and take something in return, which was mentioned rightly in the Mahabharata. Regarding the limelight part, someone mentioned it that because he was in the wrong side, he was in the limelight. I fear Hitler will also use the same example that even though he did commit genocide of millions of Jewish people, but he did so and came into the limelight. So I don't think it justifies anything. You are a negative character, even though you are in a limelight. Yeah.
Yeah, Prince, have you concluded?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Prince. You did bring up a very important point that uh, being grateful does not include a license to being loyal or being grateful to somebody who has shown you favors is not a license to support them in wrongdoing. That is a very important, a very insightful point. Because I don't remember anywhere in the Mahabharata Karna trying to guide Duryodhana along the right path. He clearly had influence over the Duryodhana, but as far as I know, there is no record of him trying to use that influence to guide Duryodhana along the right path. Whenever he showed a tendency to deviate from the right path. Uh, at least I don't. There were several clear occasions when Duryodhana chose the wrong path. For example, trying to get Draupadi to undress. There is no record of Karna saying this is wrong, Duryodhana, you shouldn't do it. When he tried to deny the Pandavas their rightful share of the kingdom when they came back from the forest, there is no record of Karna trying to tell Duryodhana that he should give back. He should give back the part of the kingdom that was owed to them. There is not a single record of this, and so that takes away some of the moral ambiguity surrounding Karna. So that I think that pushes him more towards a negative zone, than is usually the case. So now, having said that, the friendship between Duryodhana and Karna, at least in the beginning, was not a friendship between equals. Karna was a severely disadvantaged person because of his birth and upbringing, and Duryodhana just saw something in him, his potential, his military, his bravery, and decided to recognize it. And perhaps Karna felt obligated to him throughout his life. Maybe at no point, perhaps, did Karna think of himself as Duryodhana's equal. That is also possible. These are all the possibilities that make Karna one of the most interesting people in the Mahabharata. So, I will stop here. Thanks, Prince. Next would be Swarup.
Yeah. No, so maybe I'll start with the thing first. So there is this common thing that anywhere there is a debate like this where you think about whether someone is good or bad, someone eventually brings up Hitler. You just try to figure out how long it takes. So it's good that we're out with that comparison very early on with Prince.
I think it's called Godwin's law.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called, but yeah, I was trying to see who would bring that up, but it came on so early, so I think that's a good start already. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's true that Karna is probably, I mean, like with any character, really, he's complex and he's multifaceted in a way. Uh, Everything, like there are good versions of it, like things we talked about him, starting with a disadvantage in life, which he had no control on, right? To start with, like he was abandoned at birth, and with no control of him. So he had like a much lower start from all of his peers, all of the Pandavas and Kauravas, completely out of his control. Sorry?
Manu, there is noise from your line.
Yeah, all right.
Sorry.
Yeah, so that I think like definitely starts him off at a character, and from there and he sort of like became a point of discussion for us. I think that's definitely shows a transformation. Now, good or bad, again, like it's complex, right? I think Prince was saying, how do you say someone is good? Is Krishna good? Because he has done so many deceitful things during Mahabharata, right? So like, would you say Krishna is good or bad in that sense? So I would say like it just shows that human characters are complex in general. I mean, for the like comparison that you were saying, I think it is apt that although people say Karna and Duryodhana were so good friends, but I think it's always at a disadvantage for Karna for sure, because there was nobody that was even ready to take him in, right? Like everybody was ridiculing him. So there is this one person that sort of took him in and gave you a kingdom to rule and is looking after you. Would you ever go against someone like that, right? Like who is essentially your godfather. So although they may have a good relationship, which we're now equating as friendship, I think Karna was always at a disadvantage. So to Prince's point about like his sort of like responsibility during the whole Draupadi incident, maybe he had some maliciousness because she did insult him in the past, or he was insulted during that original scenario. But maybe even more than that, he just wanted to win Duryodhana's approval, right? Because he is this one person who has helped him, who has believed in him. Would you ever go against someone like that and go back to where you started, which was nothing? So I think that could probably justify or at least answer some of the negative things he has done because of Duryodhana. And like you said, I don't ever remember as well that Karna ever stopped Duryodhana for doing all the things he has done. And we look at Duryodhana as someone who has done a lot of bad things. I mean, I don't know where the name change started, but his original name, I believe, is Suyodhana, or maybe there is a version of him, but the Duryodhana definitely indicates he's bad, and it's already set in the name. So like we know Duryodhana as a bad character, and Karna being always associated with him, I think he gets the badness by that association, not necessarily because of him being bad. And other things he has done, I think it's just to sort of pull him up, sort of like from his own bootstraps in a way. He tried to do everything that make his life better. It's essentially like, jumping from one job to another job in a way, like there is this one, like no one else is hiring you, and there's this one person, Duryodhana, the CEO of this huge company that has hired you. You want to be loyal to him. You want to be in his good favor, so that like your life becomes peaceful. So I think that could justify some of his actions over time. But again, I haven't seen anyone mention this before, but there is this other arc. I don't think it was mentioned in Mahabharata itself, but I have heard of a story where the reason Karna suffered so much in his life, because he literally died for a cause he probably didn't believe in, or not even his own fight really, and he died and like unable to use his own powers. There is a reason, or people say the reason that is that because of his previous birth. I don't think that story is very well known, or at least not talked about as much. But he was supposed to be a demon in his previous life. I can't remember the whole story. But because he has done bad things in his life, people say although Karna faced all of this criticism, all of this perils in his own life, they say it's justified because he was bad in his previous life. That could also be a potential angle that could explore. Maybe Karna is good overall, on average, but he was bad in the sense that his previous life was bad. So whatever he got, he deserved it. That's another version that I've heard in the past. I forgot what his name was or what he did as a demon, but that's another angle also that definitely need to be pursued here to sort of justify Karna's actions. So yeah, I think I went on for long, so I'll pause there.
Thanks a lot, Surup. You brought up some several interesting points as well. One thing I do want to remind all of us, because there's one aspect of Karna's life that we haven't yet discussed. At the start of the Mahabharata war, the Kurukshetra war, he was approached by his mother Kunti, uh, and she told him the secret of his birth. She told him about his noble origins and that he was actually a full brother, well, a half brother of the Pandavas, as they were all half brothers. And she implored him not to kill him. Uh, and we know his reaction to it, the direction that he took, uh, and the fact that he stayed loyal to Duryodhana even after being told his noble birth. Uh, Again, I have a view on this, but I will pause here, and I would like that point also to be discussed, at some point during this debate, because that is the inflection point of Karna's life. That was a big potential turning point in Karna's life. There was a fork in the road, and he took one fork and not the other, which says a great deal about who Karna was, his essential character, his complexity, and it should certainly inform our thinking more than anything. So Karna was in an unfortunate position of not being able to choose most of the things in his life. Uh, he was very unfortunate in the circumstances of his birth and upbringing, as we have all said many times. But this was an occasion where he was presented with a clear choice, and he made a certain choice, and we know what that was, and it should inform our estimation of his character.
Yeah.
So, Samarth,
Sorry, Venkat, maybe I'll just have one follow-up just so maybe that sets the stage for others to pick that up. So
Sure.
in that conversation that he had with Kunti, I think you said Kunti asked him not to kill, right? Did he say he wouldn't? Because I remember like in one of the movies I saw, like he try his best not to actually kill any of the Pandavas. Is that the reason that Kunti asked him that's why he wouldn't do that?
Yes, so that is the reason that he decides not to kill the other Pandavas. But there is a little more to that story, and I just beg your indulgence for a minute while I explain.
Yeah.
He realizes everything at once. I think there was not a single moment when he was deluded about the choice that was facing him. He realizes why his mother has come to him. After all these years, he understands everything immediately, and but he decides to oblige his mother partially. He says that you have been happy with 5 children, so I think that is what it takes to make you happy, 5 children, and so I will guarantee that I will only target Arjuna. I will only try to kill Arjuna in battle, not the other four. So either I will come out of this war alive, or Arjuna will come out of this war alive, and at the end of the war, you will still have 5 children alive. That is the promise that he makes to Kunti, and that is why he basically avoids killing the others.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I think that definitely is an argument again, like in favor again of his loyalty then to Karna, that he decided to still take that. But yeah, I'll let others take that point.
Yeah. Thank you. Samarth?
Right. I think Karna is on balance. Is a negative character, and that is how he has been, traditionally seen. The reason why he has been seen by most people through most ages as an overall negative character is uh, because it is because he followed the path of adharma. Mahabharata, I think the most important message of Mahabharata is any person, he must do all within everything in his capacities to follow dharma as much as possible. And by that, it means that through your actions, the whole of the humanity must prosper. I think that is what the core message of dharma. And if your actions, like if they are beneficial only for the people around you and harmful for the society as a whole, then uh, your actions, although it might be commendable in a certain perspective, your actions, it is actually condemnable, because as I said, you must take the perspective of the whole of humanity, how it's gonna prosper through your actions, and not just your own near relatives or friends or your clan or even your nation. I think that is the core message of Mahabharata, and we can see such kind of dilemmas play out in most people's daily lives. Actually, I think still the
Samath, your voice is faded out. Can you repeat can you get closer to the mic or something?
Right. Just a minute. The mindset even today is that people are narrowly focused upon the well-being of their of their own immediate family members or their clan or their own particular country, and they do not take into much consideration the well-being of the whole of humanity. And the point of Mahabharata is to elevate the common person's mindset uh, above such a kind of thinking. And as I said, from this kind of a perspective, like Karna, he always chooses adharma when it most matters. I think the previous speakers, they have pointed out various instances like or the various good qualities of Karna in his personal life, like such as his loyalty and his bravery. But you must ask, like, what it all amounts to in the end. So what it amounted to in the end was his encouragement and him giving support to Duryodhana, who was who was always bent upon trying to seize the kingdom entirely to him unjustly, and are not following the established rules of how the hereditary monarchy during that time would be passed upon. So Duryodhana, he was not concerned about following such rules. If he's not going to follow such rules, that will give an indication to the wider society that all of the rules that has been established so far with respect to any sort of ethics, those amount to virtually nothing, and anything will go. So that creates like social instability, and a lot of like it creates a mindset of impunity among people. And with Duryodhana being in the forefront to to establish such instability and impunity, and Karna like supporting him in every step. Uh, so it might be out of sense of loyalty and all of these positive qualities, but he ultimately did not think about his loyalty to the entire human family. He was just concerned about his own immediate family, the parents who adopted him, and his friendship with Duryodhana. And I think in the end, that was his undoing. Yeah. Yeah. So those were the points that I want to communicate.
Thanks a lot, Samath. These are somewhat new points, but they actually touch upon the core question. I think we can agree that somebody who follows the path of dharma is a positive person, and somebody who follows the path of adharma is a negative person. So the question entirely turns upon what is dharma, what is adharma in the first place, right? So the in the Mahabharata, unlike the Ramayana, the categories I would argue are not so clear, not so crystal clear, cut and dried. Certain categories do seem to be arbitrary in the Mahabharata as a whole. So we have to look at this question from the standpoint of the Mahabharata. And it is true that what you said, that Karna did not think about the wider good, the broader good, and he seemed to go through life with the, looking at the world through the prism of his relationship with Duryodhana. So he lost sight of other things. That is certainly a valid argument that can be made. Now, on the other hand, in choosing to follow the path of dharma as defined by the broader good, if he betrays a friend, would that be dharma? Is it dharma to betray a friend, who alone in the world, uniquely in the world, when everyone else was looking down on you and humiliating you, saw your potential and lifted you up? If you choose to let down a friend like that, would that be dharma? So that is the flip side of that coin that we have to consider. And I think excellent arguments can be made on both sides of this question, which is why we're having this debate in the first place. So anyway, I will pause there. Prince?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So basically, I would just like to put up 3, 4 excellent points that got into my mind by the enlightenment I got from one of the previous speakers. He literally opened up another spectrum of looking into the story of Karna, because I personally believe that he was an unfortunate soul that did not have much control over a lot of his life. But rightly pointed out by the previous speaker, that was not giving him the kingdom of Ang a part of bribe. Was he not just an opportunistic chap that was just there with Duryodhan for the opportunities that was given to him and the riches that he got from him? Because regarding the dichotomy of what is dharma, what is adharma, I'm pretty sure even in the context of Mahabharata, I know like dharma and adharma is a very subjective term, but inciting rape is not dharma. Using disrespectful words against a female, which I can't speak in this public platform, suggesting disrobing her just to seek approval of someone, how this is a characteristic of a positive character. Additionally, rightly pointed out by Venkat that betraying of your friends, is it dharma, is it adharma? But we have to go down to the basic question: what is betrayal? Some might argue that supporting someone in wrongdoings is a part of betrayal, because you are helping him to get into a path of no return even further. Uh, Additionally, regarding the choice that he had before war, about Kunti coming in and him deciding that he'll take the side of Duryodhana itself. Uh, I don't think that was just because of loyalty. It was because of great strategism, and he was a great military commander. Pandavas had 7 Akshanish Sena. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation. Kauravas had 11. They had a clear numerical majority at the age when numbers mattered the most. So it is just a simple strategic decision to decide on the party who is going to win. Now, I am a nobody to comment on whether Karna was a good person or not, but I'm sure Karna himself is, because in Mahabharata verse 5.139.45, he himself regrets the harsh words that he said to Draupadi and Pandavas, and he confesses to speak so just to please Duryodhana. Yeah, right.
Prince, are you done?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, those are truly excellent points. Uh, that is probably the one event in Karna's life which is very hard to explain away by anybody who feels that he had a noble character. What was the need? What was the compulsion to insult Draupadi using words which even today cannot be repeated in a public forum? What was the reason to insult her in such a public way? Uh, to a point where Draupadi said that she will not tie her hair up until Karna is dead. She basically asks Arjuna to make the killing of Karna his life's mission, and she says that she would not tie her hair up until he is dead. So I think that no matter which way you go, on balance, whether you think Karna was negative or positive, this is an unforgivable act. So I think we can all agree on that. And I think that Prince's points that he was merely an opportunist who saw which way the wind was blowing, and he picked the side that he felt was more likely to win. That argument certainly should be considered seriously by those who believe that he was on balance a positive character. Was he merely an opportunist, or was he truly a person of noble character to whom life dealt such hard blows that on occasion he deviated from the right path? So thanks for bringing up those points, Prince. GR?
Yes, hello, Venkat. Yes. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. So I'd like to start with the topics today. Is Karna a negative character or not? So before starting, I'd like to open by telling that despite of each one of us having varied opinions, if Karna is negative or not, we should try to first understand what is Karna stand and what is the opposing person stand here, and what is negativity that we're addressing. So if we understand that, I think we'd be in a better place to place our opinion and understand the topic and back it up better. Firstly, I'd tell my opinion that Karna was never a negative character, because he has always been on a side which um, has promoted his well-being, and despite and just not that, despite of being on a side which has promoted his well-being, I think Karna has always tried to stay on the righteous path. Might it be in terms of doing charity, or might it be in terms of ruling his subjects, or might it be obtaining, or might it be obtaining what was rightfully his, or might it be giving what was rightfully to of his subjects. He was always on the righteous path. So many of us might not know it in detail, and my fellow friend here also mentioned that Prince, my fellow friend Prince, he mentioned that it was not right of Karna to be giving to be trading. That's what, to be precise, I'd mentioned trade. I don't think trade would be the perfect word in order to explain when we say that Karna was a negative character because he gave up his Kavacha and Kundala as a trade. I don't think that would be. I don't think that would be a valid point. But I would like to mention that to show you how how Karna's position was there. That's how Karna has always been portrayed. Even his even his mightest and bravest of the things has been portrayed as negativity, and that's what has made Karna a negative character, as he was portrayed in a couple of instances. But the people who have studied and people who have tried to have open mind to understand if he was really negative or not, have justified that Karna was not a negative character. I would also like to tell that Krishna, who actually buried Karna himself, as clearly states that Karna was never a negative character, because I don't think any man like Krishna would, bury a negative character. If Krishna has buried Karna, I don't think there should be a question raising that Karna was a negative character or not. That alone should be sufficient for us to agree that Karna was never a negative character. But along with this, I would also like to mention a couple of other points to back my statements here. My fellow friend Swarup also mentioned that Karna was a negative character, and because he sided with Duryodhana, whose name was Suyodhana, and his name became Duryodhana because his Dur, which stands for bad, my fellow friend, I'd like to tell you that the Dur is not for bad. Dur is for undefeatable. Undefeatable is Dur. So his name became Duryodhana, the undefeatable warrior. So with this, I would like to ask you that to perform and conduct in-depth facts before agreeing or telling that Karna was a negative character. I'd like you to question you, and I'd like you to question yourself, and find out yourself if really Karna was a negative character. So I think the base point, the base. Statement itself of your analysis was wrong. So that would make your very analysis of putting Karna under the question itself questionable. Apart from that, I'd also like to highlight Karna's other doings, such as maintaining his composure and trying to maintain his dharma while getting married and leaving for the leaving his country apart other than ruling it while he was asked to do so. So that also tells that Karna did a good thing, and he was always in line with dharma. Now when we speak about dharma, we should also try to understand what is dharma. Is dharma what we are showed? Is dharma what we are told? Or is there a dharma that is actually dharma? So if I say yes is dharma and you say no is dharma, will yes become dharma or no become dharma? Or is there a dharma? What is dharma? Have you understood dharma itself in a proper way? So if Karna sided with Duryodhan, not to harm or not to offend anyone here, please, I hold immense respect towards other parties who have varied opinions too. But what is dharma? Was Karna really opposing dharma, or was dharma actually different? That is the base question we are supposed to question. So that's what I would like to tell. Also, I would like to mention a couple of other doings of Karna here mentioned here, which I would say um, uh, might be on the negative side of Karna a little. Of course, every man has his positives and negatives, which is opposing of Draupadi in an open court. I don't think only Karna was negative there. There was a lot other men who were also present. If they are not being questioned to be negative, why only Karna is being questioned to be negative? That would be the very question I would like to ask. So I would like to conclude by telling that Karna was not a negative character, but was framed to be negative, or framed to be portrayed as negative whenever and wherever required to meet the political expectations of people during that time. That's what I could conclude with. Thank you very much. I'm open to listen to anyone who'd like to oppose my points with valid facts.
Thanks, Gia. Those are very interesting points as well. Uh, so you did touch upon whether Karna was doing a trade when he handed over his kavacha to Krishna.
Yeah.
So just to trace back the facts of that as revealed in the Mahabharata,
Uh-huh.
Karna had a reputation for being generous to a fault. He would basically give anyone anything they wanted, anything they asked. That was his reputation of being of extreme generosity. And Krishna was obviously aware of that. He's God, he was aware of everything. And at the time of the battle, when Arjuna and Karna had basically fought each other to a standstill, uh, the one thing that Krishna does is to make sure that when Karna fires certain, particularly potent arrows like the Sarpastra, he makes sure that it flew over Arjuna's head, flew over the chariot by causing the chariot to sink. That was one thing that he did. And as the battle was being fought to a stalemate, and as it became clear that Arjuna would not be able to defeat Karna in open battle, in a battle of equals, he approaches Karna and asks him to, as a gift, to hand over the kavach. Karna understands what is going on. He recognizes Krishna because Krishna approaches him as God. And without a moment's hesitation, he tears off the kavacha and hands it over to Krishna. He showed his generosity there. And a brief digression, because it is important for us to understand Krishna's role in all of this as well. It was Krishna who suggests to Kunti that she should go and talk to Karna and tell him the facts of his birth. We can easily understand the motives for his doing so. Kunti agrees, and she goes and talks to Karna about the circumstances of his birth. And so I think, any one of us is competent to judge Krishna's role in all of this. I think we should, but that will take us to a broader discussion of the Mahabharata as a whole. So I will pause here. I do appreciate, GR, that you have a strong opinion that Karna was a positive person and not a negative person. And thank you for bringing up all the interesting points. I see a lot of people wanting to speak. Can I ask that everyone limit their time to about 2 to 3 minutes? Thank you.
Yeah,
Sharad?
before that, if I may just add one more point, before you proceed, just that you mentioned regarding the trade of Kavach. If I may, could I add it?
Yes, please.
Yes, yes. If I may add, so let us say when he was willing to trade away his um Kavach during the times when it was most required to him, that itself shows that he was committed to dharma. So if we try to question the very base of what he did and try to portray that he was negative, so then the greater question would be what is positive and what is negative. So shouldn't he have given his coverage? According to me, I think there is no one thing. If you give something, you get something. So that was the point that my fellow friend mentioned. He traded when he said he traded. So he gave his coverage in exchange for something else. So if you give something, there is obviously there is something to take. Might it be anything? So even physics says that every force is equal and opposite force acting towards it. So I think that should be enough to explain that whatever you try to give or whatever you try to take, there is always equal and opposite reaction that is happening. So yes, that's what I would like to add, and I think we should not try to consider him being negative and portraying him trading in exchange for something. So that was the rightful thing. And everything, you and me, if I'm talking today, we are trading things. I'm giving you information, you're trying to give me information. I'm trying to learn from you, you're trying to learn from me. And at the end, we all are friends. So thank you. That's what I'd like to add.
Thanks, GR. Just quickly to add to what GR is saying, I'm not aware of anything that Karna got back in return for handing over the kavacha, except that he got to preserve his reputation as a generous person. So this was a generous act, and he knew that he would probably pay for it with his life. He did it anyway.
Venkat,
Yeah.
can I just add 2 corrections in this? So if it's fine.
Sorry, what? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add 2 corrections in this whole scenario where Karna is giving his kavacha.
Okay. Would it be possible to wait for your turn, Tejas, or?
Yes, sure. Just one correction, I'll add it, and later on I'll speak, not an issue. So it was not Krishna who came to take the Karna's kavacha, it was Indra who came in form of a bhikshu to ask for Karna for his kavacha, and Karna was already informed this by Surya Deva. And I'm not saying that Karna is positive or negative, we can discuss that later on. But that was one thing, and in return, he got an astra from Indra. He asked for an astra, which was Indra astra or something like that, to kill Arjuna. So that was the fact. That was the scenario, actually.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
I can see there are multiple versions of this, and I'm familiar with a different version, but I won't go into that.
Yeah, sure. No.
So, Sharad?
Yeah. So just to finish off that version, so I think the Indrastra was used against Ghatotkacha. So Krishna got Ghatotkacha, so that forcing Karna to use it against him. Okay. To add, to add to the discussions, we have to ask that is it right to judge a person from today's lenses for a character that has taken 5,000 years back? I mean, today we can say that Karna was wrong in siding with Duryodhana, mentioning few words. Yes, certain there were few wrongs from his side. That was, yes, but that was a time when even Bhishma kidnapped the three princes. So that he could arrange their marriage with his family members. I mean, that was the dharma then. Even Krishna suggested Arjuna to run away with his sister, which was accepted at that time. So when the GR said that what is dharma, this is exactly we should also think that what is dharma? What is dharma today, or what is dharma today? What was dharma then? So certain things were dharma then. Like if so similarly, for all the injustices or for all the unfair treatments that Karna had faced throughout his life, and then there was a helping hand. Okay, maybe because of some selfish goals. If Duryodhana is helping him and accepting him in a bigger audience in front of Kunti, in front of his Pandavas, that yeah, I am going to help you, I am going to give a kingdom, and Karna siding with him and going against him, was it not adharma at that time? Today we can say that when we know the full story, these were wrong and it was adharma. But for a person who had held his hand, was it not the adharma? If he had, and following him, was it dharma? If he had done wrong, then was it wrong? Was it right for Yudhishthira to stake the claim of his kingdom, of his treasurers, even of his brothers in the gamble? I mean, he putting a stake, was it dharma? We say this is was it dharma? And he putting a stake of his own wife, which was accepted in front of the Agni god with all his brothers, but he's taking it, was it dharma? So there were various things that was dualistic at that period of time. Even Prince mentioned that Karna had killed Abhimanyu, but let's see, being in a war, during the course of he entering uh, the Kurukshetra, that place, Abhimanyu had killed Karna's own sons in the same battle. So it was on the same day that Karna had killed Abhimanyu. Was it right to kill when he was? Now we may say that it was wrong for Karna to kill him when he was without any arms. So he was armless, and it was then that was his. He was killed. But was it right for him to get killed by Arjuna, suggested by Krishna, that look, Karna has done lot of wrong deeds. So even though he is without a weapon, shoot the arrow at him. Was it dharma? I mean, so that's the beauty of Mahabharata. When we say that there it was dharma, so all these practices, was it dharma? Was it dharma to share Kunti before the battle to Karna that look, you are my son and these are your brothers, spare them? Why not was he accepted as a part of family member during the years back when there was a fight between Pandavas and Kauravas, where the Pandavas told this guy Karna that he is a Sutputra, and that was the time when Duryodhana supported him. So if we see what was dharma, so there were a lot of dual things that wrongs or rights done by the both the parties. So Karna was just part of it, and he was from the story of it, he had to accept for some of the curses he had got. I mean, one story that is missed is during his younger days, he was cursed from a Brahmin priest because he killed a calf, during which he was cursed that you will be killed when you are without any support. I mean, that was the fate of it. but he could have ran away during that time. Okay, he killed a calf, he could have ran away, but he didn't go. He accepted his sins mistake in front of the Brahmin, but which he got a curse. So I think we have to see it as a broader view and not gauge a person just by today's perspective and taking an example of Hitler and so other things. I mean, we are judging a person 5,000 years or a character 5,000 years back. So with these cases, I feel for that situation, Karna was still not evil as we are portraying him. So
Thank you, Sharad. And by the way, I do want to clarify, we are not portraying Karna as evil. There is a reason we are having this debate, right? We are not having this debate about Duryodhana, for example, right? We are having this debate about Karna because we all agree that he's a complex character, a very complex character with a very unfortunate, birth and upbringing. And who knows what any of us would have done if we had been in his position, what choices we would have made. Would we have made honorable choices or would we have made dishonorable choices? Would we have walked in the path of Dharma or Adharma? We don't know. We cannot say for sure. But still, we are doing our best to judge somebody, based on what we have learned about his character. Your point about what was Dharma then and what is Dharma now, that's a very, very important question. Things have changed, right? You cannot judge somebody thousands of years later, based on the Dharma as understood in the present day. However, I think we should acknowledge that certain aspects of Dharma have withstood the test of time. Loyalty to a benefactor is still considered to be a good thing. We still believe that a mother's duty is to take care of her children. We still believe that people should not be cheated out of what is rightfully theirs, as the Pandavas were cheated out of their kingdom by Duryodhana, by the Kauravas. So there are certain aspects that have stood the test of time. Certain other aspects, not so much, right? For instance, the blatant caste-based discrimination that we see in the Mahabharata, calling somebody a Sutaputra, that has not withstood the test of time. Today, we no longer believe in the caste system. So Dharma today, is quite different from the Dharma then, but certain aspects have survived and withstood the test of time. Muskan, you're next.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. It's really impressive listening to all these points. What I understand is the very question that we have whether Karn was a positive or negative character is because there was a dilemma that he had in his life, that is understanding dharma, that we all have today, right? What is the meaning of dharma? And I think dharma is very subjective. So Karna, if you see his intention and his life commitment was to always be on the rightest path. And when we see that Duryodhan had, when the question is whether a friend should be betrayed or not, is it dharma or not? And if we see the injustice that Karna faced throughout his life while he was growing up. So, and also one point that was mentioned was Sri Krishna telling Arjuna to kill him when his chariot was actually in such a situation where Karna could not retaliate. So all these things come up because we somewhere do not understand what actually the meaning of dharma is. And what understanding I have from Mahabharat is that dharma is something that has to be beyond yourself. When we only see our own pains and suffering throughout the life that Karna somewhere had, and when we don't forget that dharma is meant to be for like beyond yourself and for the society, then here the question is that you have to go for what is for a betterment of the human society and what example you portray for the coming human race. Here, when you say that betraying a friend would be dharma, so first of all, we need to understand that Duryodhan extended the helping hand because of selfish reason that he saw someone who could actually be as strong or maybe someone as competitive as Arjuna was. And they feared that there was not a very strong warrior on their side as Arjuna was. So that was one of the reasons that he extended that helping hand. And Karn somewhere saw that he was given Angraj also, that kingdom of Ang. So maybe there was somewhere a selfish reason that he had, and he always saw his own pains and suffering that he had throughout his life. If he would have gone beyond that, then maybe changing the side or going on the Pandavas side would justify dharma there. This is my perspective. If anyone has any point countering to this, I'm very open to it.
Thanks a lot, Muskan. Very interesting points. As we listen to all the different perspectives from Muskan, from all the others, I think the central question turns upon this the the fact surrounding Karna and whether he walked on the path of Dharma. Did he walk consistently on the path of Dharma, or did he deviate from it? Were the deviations more than the compliance with Dharma, or was it the other way around? That seems to be the essence of the whole question, and that is where the problem gets complex as well. For one thing, people may not have a common understanding of Dharma. The Dharma of the Mahabharata could be different from the Dharma of today, which we know is the case. And we may differ in our weightage of how much weightage we give to the deviations from Dharma that Karna occasionally displayed. So it is a very, very complex question. Off the top of my head, I'm hard pressed to think of any character more complex than Karna in the Mahabharata. It is at once the most interesting and the most complex character that the author of the Mahabharata created. So that is precisely what makes this debate extremely interesting. Thank you. And Manan, you're next.
Yeah. Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So first I'll just speak on dharma. Like what I feel dharma is, it is not set in stone. It is our personal obligations to life and what we feel is right. And then to counter the point that let's say Karna is a negative person, I surely don't believe he is negative nor he is positive. Everyone has innate traits that make them a positive character or a negative character in the whole of history. So if also at first Prince stated that Hitler was absolute, like, yeah, sure, he did commit crimes and all that, but it is in the grand picture, we are seeing that he's a very bad character, right? So the same way, if we are concluding Karna to be a negative character, we are seeing it in a very grand picture of, let's say, history, that we are picturing him as he did everything wrong. He did such atrocities, or like he did trades and he said certain stuff and all that. But we have to understand that even he did certain good things and even he did certain bad things. It is just human nature to, let's say, deviate in certain points in time where someone might not agree with you and someone will. So it's just, I think it's completely natural for a human character in an epic like Mahabharat to be let's say debated upon that he is negative or he's positive. But in all, I'll just conclude with that is that in fact he was a very human character, and it just reflects what we might do in certain situations and what many other human beings like us would do in certain situations. That's it.
Thank you, Manan. I'm sorry, I have a hard stop and need to drop now. Raghav, can you take the meeting forward? Raghav, you're on mute if you're speaking.
Yeah, thanks for hosting so far, Venkat. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Prince, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Raghav. First of all, I would like to address Manan. Of course, no one can be 100% right or wrong, as rightly pointed out by several speakers. Now, regarding Karna being a negative slash positive character. Now, what is the basic characteristic that he's associated with? Why he is considered the most positive character? Now, the point of me bringing out the trade of Kavach Kundal for Vasavi Dart, I assume, or Indra Astra, is not to say that, okay, he traded, he's a bad guy. No, he traded, that is perfectly a neutral thing to do. Now, whether that trade was good or bad, what was his pretext or idea behind that trade could be questioned. But regarding, I guess Tejas already said that Suryadev did came in his dream and told him about everything, where he mentioned explicitly that uh, tomorrow Indradev will come. Please don't give away your kavach and kundal. Thou shall not die if you bear the kavach kundal. He was not interested to be immortal. The basic thing that he wanted throughout his life, I guess everyone will agree, was to defeat Arjuna. So he did a trade-off for that basic reason. Now, was he able to defeat? I assume no, because it is clearly evident in Virat War, even with Kavach Kundal, he was defeated by Arjuna. Now, someone pointed out, why are we questioning whether Karna is a positive or negative character, whereas we are not questioning others? Because we do believe that there might be something good in it. There is a very debatable characteristic associated with him. Uh, yeah, so that's that. But what the basic question everyone is having is, what is right and what is wrong? Of course, dharma is a very subjective term and it is associated with every individual. But let me tell you some of the dharmas which has both withstood the test of the time and was dharma at that time. Ordering the rape of Draupadi was a dharma. It was clearly evident by the reaction even the Kauravas gave to the orders. Regarding killing of Abhimanyus, definitely they were warriors, they went to fight, they will be killed. But the main issue that arises here is even many of other sons of Pandavas were also killed, but Abhimanyu is always taken into consideration because he was an unarmed warrior. It was against the ethos of that time to attack an unarmed warrior or to fight with one warrior and you are like 5 or 6 people. That did open several floodgates, and it is clearly mentioned in Mahabharata that there were no adharmas performed by the Pandavas side till that time. That incident was used by Krishna and other mentors to kind of take a more pragmatic approach to it. Now, regarding the friendship thing, everyone is saying, I guess everyone has come to an agreement that he did so just to kind of get the acceptance of Duryodhan. It was a simple quid pro quo trade. There was nothing about friendship. If there was friendship, then he might have guided him towards the righteous path. It was a simple quid pro quo trade. He got a kingdom to rule. In return, he gave his army and his fighting abilities to Duryodhan. Yeah, Raghu. Raghav?
Sorry, Gia, go ahead.
Yes, yes. Yes. Once again, I'd like to open by telling that my fellow friend Prince is, I'd like to disagree with you, Prince, because I'd like to disagree with most of the points that you have stated today, which is the very first thing I'd like to rectify, and I'd like to take my stand, telling that nobody ordered Draupadi's rape. Draupadi was asked to be derobed and was not asked to be raped. So I would like to first clarify and tell you there's a difference between derobing someone and raping someone. So I'd like to rectify the wording by telling that she was asked to be derobed, not to be raped, and hence that very first point was void. And apart from that, when you said that Karna traded his Kavach Kundal in exchange for Indra's Ayuda, and how good was it? How good was the trade? When you mentioned how good was the trade, I'd like to tell you that there is no good or bad when you're giving up your very own life. There is no good or bad in exchange to that. So I don't think that would be a valid question to ask if what he got in exchange was good or bad. So apart from that, also I'd like to tell that many other facts which we are speaking today. are not very accurate or precise, even for me or you or anybody around there, because we are referring to characters 5,000 years ago, which have various interpretations and various meanings and various views, various perspectives coming out from different people. So I'm just trying to address based on pure facts and on a common perspective and on a common ground where everybody can try to understand and know better what Karna actually was, or what really Karna was portrayed as during that days. So that's all. That's I'd like to conclude by telling that.
Thanks, GR. Swarup, go ahead.
Yeah, so maybe one thing we've been talking about, I think like GR mentioned, it's supposed to be an old incident, right? I just want to point out one thing to start, that everything we have been talking about Draupadi's disrobing, right? There is actually still a debate whether that actually happened or not, in the sense that is it in the story, because some of the translations indicate Duryodhan, who supposed to have ordered this disrobing. Some of the translations mention that he just wanted her as a slave, not necessarily to disrobe her or demean her. Maybe that's something to keep in mind, because there is a version where that may not actually have happened. But yeah, keeping that, there were a couple of points. Maybe I'll summarize some of the discussions that happened. I think like there was this question about Karna maybe like the most complex character in Mahabharat. I would disagree, in the sense that I would say Krishna is probably the most complex character, maybe even more so than Duryodhana, because again, like he started out as a god, but we have seen him do things as Mahabharata that wouldn't be godly, in the sense, right? Like there are a lot of things that are not good. So I think he would probably be the most complex character, I would say, in Mahabharata than Kaurva, but probably Kaurva is the next in that list. I think most people are saying it's hard to decide whether it's good or bad, but I think GR has his opinion, thinks that he's saying like overall Karna is good. But I think that cannot be the case with any human, right? Like you can never say somebody is good or bad justifiably. It's like we're all complex characters, including Karna. So saying he's good or bad, point blank, I don't think really works for any character. Karna definitely complex. He has his good side, he has his bad side. I think a lot of things have been pointed out. So I think debating one only or the other only is not really something I think would be productive. It's just that we have to understand he is complex and he has both shades essentially to that. And yeah, I don't think it's good to say always good. And I think one of the arguments that came was Krishna said Karna is good. And I don't think that's again like a good endorsement, because again, Krishna has done a lot of things that probably no one else is proud of. So I don't think Krishna's judgment may be that reliable in this case, considering he's the one that actually caused Karna to die. So yeah, I think like we have to sort of keep that in mind, that everyone has like a shade of gray essentially in that. And I think maybe Prince mentioned this. I do agree that Karna was opportunistic, in the sense that he tried to do the best he could with what he has been served. But I think Prince made a point that he had an option to actually choose to join Pandavas, but he decided to join Kauravas instead, because he knew Kauravas had a bigger army. But I think that's actually the reverse. Pandavas literally have a god on their side. It's a rigged war to begin with. There was no universe in which Pandavas would have lost to Kauravas, considering Krishna was on their side and he was ready to do everything to have them win. So I think it would have been good if Karna was actually at least opportunistic in that instant. He would have chosen to actually join Pandavas, because they had odds maybe 1 million to 1 in their favor to win, because you literally have the god next to you. It doesn't matter how many millions of people you have fighting on the Kauravas, because Pandavas were bound to win, I would say. So at least if he was opportunistic maybe in other scenarios, but in that case, I think his judgment to stick with Kauravas I think still comes back to his loyalty, where I would think that's a good side to him, not necessarily him trying to score some points by staying on the winning side. And also that brings back to the other point, right? Like we are sort of against this Kauravas versus Pandavas thing, but are Pandavas good to begin with? That's also another thing. Because Yudhishthir literally, like, like put his entire family out for sale as part of the game they are playing. And I don't think he ever even consented, if I'm not wrong, asking his wife or his brothers, look, can I do this? So I think he just went ahead and sort of like bargained all of them as part of the game. So I think there is a shade of gray basically in everyone. That's kind of the summary I'm going with here. So yeah, like saying one is good or bad, I don't think any character in Mahabharat can justifiably good or bad. So yeah, that's my summary of this. Open to hear what others have to say.
All right, Prince, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just make some one two small points that even though it was not directly said to rape Draupadi, but the term used for Draupadi, I'm really sorry I can't use it. I'll really encourage you all to go and read it from Mahabharata. And disrobing her, that too, ordering Dushashan to disrobe her is an incitement of rape. Now, rightly pointed out by, I assume, Swaroop, that yes, in some translations, this point is kind of not available. But another thing that corresponds to this is that while dying, Karna himself said that he said those harsh words to Draupadi and Pandavas just to score points for Duryodhana. Sorry, in front of Duryodhana. So I guess if we just look at that aspect, then when did he disrespect Draupadi in the whole of Mahabharata, if not that incident? Now, since we have discussed a lot about whether Karna is a positive character, a negative character or not, I'll also like to invite people and just have an open question that what is the criteria of them believing that Karna was a positive character? Yeah, Ravi.
Yeah, Manan, go ahead.
Yeah, so first I'll say is that the gods or the devs, they are in eternal warfare with the Asurs, right? And the reason the devs are in warfare with Asurs is because they are just too much trouble for them, and the Asurs are like they want the control over all the heavens. So that is the point. But we have to also consider that the devs did heinous things, and also some of the Asurs, even they did some good things. So it is just a yin and yang. And the same way, if we are talking about Karna, even he has some good traits and bad traits. And that is the reason we have the Kauravas and the Pandavas. That sure, even if Kauravas, yeah, sure, they were all this bad and stuff, and even the Pandavas, they were such good people, or like they were on the good side. Even they did certain things that were bad. So I think the point of this debate shouldn't be considering someone as an outright negative person or a positive person. It's just we have to accept that certain people have certain quality traits. And I guess this is what I'm just trying to say, because the point of the debate shouldn't be to consider someone as an extremely negative person, or an extremely positive person, right? Because in that sense, you are just dividing world into a yes and a no, and like a black and white, which doesn't exist in such, let's say, plain vision.
Yeah, Muskan, go ahead.
Okay, so when we discussed this question whether Karna was actually knowing that God is on the other side and they are like it's predetermined that the other side would win. I think I'm not very sure if Karna had actually realized that Lord Krishna or Kauravas had realized that Sri Krishna was Lord, because when Sri Krishna went to their kingdom to give them the advice, they never accepted it. And they even ordered to cage him. So this was one thing. Another thing that they considered was that Krishna will be on the other side, but without his army. And the army has never, like in the history, the army has never been defeated, and the army was taken by Kauravas only. So in this perspective, Karna was somewhere still had hope of, or maybe fighting with the full hope that their side would be the winner. So.
By the way, guys, we usually go from 11 to 12:30, and then we open it up so that you don't have to like be in queue, and you can just have an open discussion. So we're gonna start with the open discussion now, and you can speak freely afterwards. I think Manan, you can go next.
I forgot to lower the hand. Sorry.
Yeah, so I guess adding to what Muskan said, uh, without the army, I guess Krishna rightly became a toothless lion. He could not attack, he was just there as a boy.
Yes, Prince, this is what I'm saying. But the other side was not having this predetermined that, okay, the Lord is on their side and we would lose the war. So this is what the Kauravas did not understand before starting the war.
No, I think it's a well-known fact by then that Krishna was already the incarnation, because I mean this has been known since he was a kid, right? Like everyone was around him because of that. So
Right.
everyone knows by then that he is supposed to be God or a version of God in a way, and he is all powerful. And yeah, but I'm not sure why they like. I mean, that's a fair point. That I don't know why Kauravas thought they wouldn't need an advice from a literal god. They should have taken it. But I think I mean, like obviously people would probably still have their bets on either. But I would say they're like, at least from me looking at it from an outside, I don't think there would have been any chance where Krishna would let Pandavas lose, right? Would anyone think that would have actually happened? And that's why I say, like, Pandavas would have won. Maybe it wasn't clear as much at that time. Like, they still know Krishna is a god, but maybe they wouldn't have known to the extent that he would have, like, sort of went to support Pandavas and make them win. But yeah, I think still, like, it probably has to be determined that like, to a certain extent that Pandavas would win. That's what I think.
And I
Okay,
guess
but
I'll give it to Kauravas for just this time. It was a hard decision to kind of choose between Krishna and his indefeatable army.
Yeah.
yeah, but straight away when Duryodhana went to Shri Krishna, he always has the intention of asking for his army and not for him. So he never realized that he was God and they would win with him having on his side.
Yeah. And we also have this whole idea about Krishna being like like he plays tricks, right? So I don't know if it's true, but at least in one of the movies I saw, there was this thing where both Arjuna and Duryodhan, I think, come to talk to him. He positions, like he's supposed to be sleeping, and he positions himself in a way that he notices Arjuna first, then Duryodhana. So I think he also had, like, even if Duryodhana had quoted his assistance, maybe he wouldn't have, like, allowed it. Maybe he would have sided with Pandavas.
Okay, so for this part, what I know is that he was already sleeping, and Duryodhan straight away went and sat on the side where his head was lying, and where his foot were, that is where Arjuna sat. So when he opened his eyes, it was Arjuna whom he saw first. But still, I think Duryodhan was given the first chance to ask.
Don't quote me on this part, but what I know is that maybe, of course, Krishna had some biases towards Arjuna because
Yeah.
he had some familiar relations with the mother of Arjuna.
Yeah. I mean,
More than I think familiar,
literally his
because
brother-in-law, right?
yeah, he was brother-in-law, also
that's
cousin.
also.
But I think more than that, because Arjuna had always been on the righteous path and his intentions, and he could be a good king. So Shri Krishna already know that, and that is why he was like always biased to him. So, and if Shri Krishna also quotes that if you are being like unrighteous for the righteousness, then that is also justified. So
Maybe that's
Yeah,
another
even
debate
if we
topic. Is Arjuna a good character? Because I mean, I guess generally maybe less sort of a point of debate than Karna, because Karna had, like, maybe more visible shades of gray. But I think Arjuna also is still a complex character. Everyone has their flaws. So I don't know if I would say
But
always
I think
followed Dharma, maybe a little more than Karna, but yeah, maybe that's something to still discuss.
that's answered in the Bhagavad Gita, I guess.
And how is that? What do you say?
Like Arjun asks Krishna all these questions that should I kill my own brothers and all of this stuff. And I mean, you get to see his
Okay.
points of view.
Yeah. Okay. So he's at least, like, innocent enough that he doesn't want to do that. Yeah, makes sense. But actually, maybe like I don't think if anyone brought that up because um, it's a known fact, at least like where I grew up or like what I know, that Karna is jealous of Arjuna. I think that's another facet of Karna's because like what was mentioned about uh, when Kunti came and asked Arjuna, like Karna said, I will only kill Arjuna or only try to kill him, not others. I think that also sort of comes as part of his jealousy of Arjuna because obviously Arjuna is considered the best warrior there is, and Karna is definitely a competition there, and he never gets a chance. So I think there has always been like that jealousy, and like from Karna towards Arjuna. Maybe Arjuna didn't deserve it because he didn't do anything, but yeah, I think at least from Karna's side, that probably is another reason to put him a little further down than where he could have possibly been in the rung of good to bad.
Yeah, I would agree. Arjuna was kind of a bit unfortunate in that part where he was kind of always being held accountable for the doings that his guru did. And I don't think anything is wrong with what his guru did. At the time being, gurus had the decision to, kind of choose their own disciples. So, yeah, but I never got my answer of why people consider him a positive character.
Yeah, I think that would be a like a very bad old like a sort of simplified take from the whole history because yeah, I don't think you can say anyone in Mahabharat is good, right? I would say it's definitely a combination. So yeah, I don't think we can say Karna is good, like like without a doubt.
Um,
I
And
think.
sorry, one thing, like I see people sort of mentioned it a couple of times, but I want to make sure because the version of that I remember was it's not Karna who ordered the Draupadi to be disrobed, but it was actually Duryodhana. But a couple of you have mentioned Karna was the one that mentioned like actually initiated it. So which version is true? Because I remember Karna being there. I mean, obviously he said things, but the actual disrobing was not something he initiated. It was Duryodhana that's supposed to have done that. So, what's your version of that? Because I've heard like multiple people saying it was Karna who ordered it.
I also knew it's Duryodhana.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I have not watched any films or serials regarding him, but from what I've read, it was Karna who ordered it. I did read it from Mahabharat.
Okay. Yeah, because like it's a known fact that Karna said all those things to Draupadi. I mean, like again, like not maybe putting it her, but
Let's not
let's say,
mention it.
yeah, let's say she called her, he called her a courtesan. Let's say, like the best way you can put it out.
Yeah,
So
yes.
he did say all that, but at least the version I know, again from movies and maybe from little stories I've read, it was never Karna. So it's interesting that if somebody actually wrote that, that I think definitely puts him further down in the negative scale. If somebody thought he could do that.
I think it should be concluded now, Raghav.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually we go till like whenever people feel like there's nothing more to say to it. So if that's the point we are in, I think we can close here. This is a really interesting session actually. I was not expecting it to be this, like this has been probably the most engaging session, most number of participants being most active. And yesterday there was actually somebody saying that this is not an inclusive topic and all that. And it's just and to see this happening with so much enthusiasm, it's really surprising and also like very encouraging. So thanks everybody for participating.
Yeah. No, I think in any topic in religion with a debate, you would see a lot of participation for sure. Religion or like the common known myths, I think that will definitely be there. Maybe I'd like to start one question to see what others think. Like we mentioned, like Arjuna and Karna, at least in Karna's mind, had this rivalry going on. Who do you think is actually powerful? I know in the end, Arjuna did kill Karna with a lot of generous help from Krishna, but it is generally known that Arjuna wouldn't have been able to kill Karna, right? Is there any version where Arjuna was equal to Karna in that sense? Or was Karna always placed a peg higher?
Yes, I did mention it. Uh, of course, I don't include the war of Kurukshetra because, yeah, I do believe Karna was a bit unfortunate there. But during the Virat Nagar war or Virat war, some people call it, Arjuna was able to defeat Karna while he even possessed the Kavach and Kundal. He was not able to, kind of give a dead blow to it, but Karna was kind of forced to retreat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, I think I heard something mentioned. Maybe I didn't hear that properly. Yeah, I didn't know this happened. There was a war during the Virat Parva. So what duration was this while they were in while they were in exile?
Around the duration they were at the end of their exile.
There was a war there. I didn't know that. I mean, like there was a war before Kurukshetra.
Yeah, there were several wars going on, but this comes into limelight because it was when Arjuna kind of single-handedly defeated a lot of the warriors of the Kuru clan.
Oh, but that would have been a violation, then, right? Because the whole point of their exile was the last year, I think, right? Is supposed to be Agnatavasa, where they were not supposed to be recognized at all. If they knew it was Arjuna, it's done already, right? They lost it. They would have to do it again, isn't it?
So there is a dilemma regarding the timeline that whether it happened in the last 2-3 months of the exile or whether it happened 1 year after the end of exile when they were, kind of preparing for the Kurukshetra war, making
Okay.
alliances.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because if it's known that Karna and Arjuna were facing, then it's done. Like Agnatavasa has been like it's a failure, and they would have to repeat the whole thing. But yeah, I
Yes.
guess if maybe it puts it like before Kurukshetra if it did happen. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, but yeah, one thing like I mean, like I wasn't sure what I was coming into this debate with. Like I sort of thought he was like he had facets of everything, but it's really interesting to see the kind of points people brought on to support this. So yeah, that was very interesting, and I learned a lot of new things as well. So that's good. Yeah, thank you everyone. That was quite nice.
Yeah, definitely. Each session of the debate club is always enriching.
Yeah, I mean, so this is my first time here for this meetup, so I don't know what has happened before, but would definitely like to participate in the future ones. So, what kind of topics do we generally discuss here?
So actually there is a form in our official website. I'm going to put this in the chat so you can go and have a look at our official website.
Okay.
So basically over there you have a bunch of forms, and you can suggest a topic, and what we do is like we put them all in a sort of like a voting kind of a thing, and whichever is the highest voted one, it'll be nextly scheduled. Like we go by like a priority on who has the most interest, that will be scheduled earliest, and then the ones that are not so interesting will be like at the end. But basically we're creating like a system where anybody can come and suggest topic, and then like it'll be scheduled.
Okay. Yeah. No, I just opened the website and I'm looking at the past ones. There are some interesting debates. I would have liked to see or participate in some of them.
Now,
Please
what
go
you
to
see
the
on the
YouTube
meetup, right?
channel.
What you see on the
This is
meetup is basically upcoming
no, I'm
sessions.
looking at the drive, like past. There is a link to the
Right,
website,
yeah.
and I'm looking at the drive link. Yeah, there
Right,
are
yeah.
some quite interesting ones in there.
Yeah. And also we have we've been starting to record our sessions, and then we'll be posting it on YouTube channel. So our YouTube channel has a few recordings there as well. You can have a look.
Yeah, we'll check that. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Also, Raghav, I wanted to ask about the debates that we're having during the week. I think
Mhm.
there was something on this Wednesday as well. So is it like the same debate that
So
we have on Saturday?
So the Saturdays, the sessions are basically like things that are not like not like current events. Now, these are all things that are timeless topics. But what we
Okay.
are starting to do since last week is that we are planning to have like not just debate but like sessions where we come together and then like exchange ideas and thoughts on more current topics. Like
Okay, so that's also on the Zoom channel.
yeah. So we will be posting those things on the Zoom as well. And this week we haven't really decided any topic yet. I mean, I think we should probably like discuss that. And if any of you want to like suggest topics for the current event things, we can discuss that, and then like I'll be posting this on the meetup, and then we can have discussions on this. Will be on like Wednesday, like 7 p.m. something like that.
I guess
Okay, so in
Israel
the evening.
Palestine is always open.
Which one?
Israel Palestine, the recent attacks on Rafah.
Yeah.
I mean, so we'll have to come up with a topic that is kind of like it kind of like evenly splits the audience, and then we'll have like interesting discussions. Then because like that is one situation where when you have current events, it's not always possible to have like a controversy or like a division, like divisive topic. And even for example, if you take the Pune accident case, right, that's a very hot topic right now. Everybody's talking about it. There's so many revelations going on.
Yeah.
And how do you like bring up a topic on that side, because like things are obvious to everybody. I think we're all on the same side, so it becomes really difficult to talk about it in a debate context. So maybe we can have something like a brainstorming session or like something like that where we can discuss like what can be done or something like that. So we are exploring a bunch of options here, and I would love to hear what kind of ideas you might have.
Yeah, no, maybe on the Israel-Palestine one, I was just thinking maybe the topic could be, should India still support Israel while Israel-Palestine war is going on? Maybe that could be like from an Indian perspective, that could be an interesting topic.
Right. Yeah. I need to come up with a mechanism for like scheduling the topics on this, because like with the timeless topics, it's kind of easy to come up with a mechanism that is like you can do Google Forms and things like that. But when you have a short time scale, right, it's difficult to come up with a mechanism so easily. But I'll think of something. We'll have a mechanism for that. All right. So it looks like we've come to a standstill. So anything else before we close, guys? Okay. All right. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll be posting updates on the Wednesday session in the general channel in the WhatsApp group. Thanks again
Thank
for
you for the
joining.
amazing session, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.